Hey Hebrew fans, this is Todd. Today we're going to talk about how to fix action figure legs from the 80s. So first you need to get some screw eyes. Make sure they're long enough to fit in there. You need some O-rings, some number 83s. You're going to need some retainer ring pliers, a small screwdriver, some needle nose pliers. Now the first pair, you want it to have serrations on the inside. This is for gripping to make sure it can hang on to those threads. The other ones you're going to have are non-marring. Notice there's no serrations. You don't want to cause any kind of sharp areas that can break the O-ring. You're going to need a string of some sort, and of course a figure that's broken that you want to fix. Now I want you to notice the way this rubber is going up over the top. That is how we're going to thread that through. So make sure when you use your O-ring it's going up over the top with the original rubber band went and for the legs. Alright, first things first, let's open up the O-ring. Get all my parts ready. And now we're going to take the screw eye and we're going to take and open it up. Use the non-marring tools against the part we're going to open, and use the other needle nose pliers on the threads to grip it well. Open it up just enough for the O-ring to fit in there. Slide your O-ring into the screw eye, and then with the non-marring needle nose pliers, go ahead and close that O-ring back up. Make sure it's also straight. So make sure those ends line up. And there we go, the O-ring's on there. Now we're going to stretch the O-ring out. This is important. If you don't stretch it out, it may end up snapping on you later on. You want it nice and stretched. Just like when you were a kid and you blew up balloons, you would sit and pull them in and out many times before you blew them up to make it easier. We're going to stretch this O-ring pretty far to get from one leg to the other. So we want to make sure that it's easily stretchable and it is warmed up. I find also sometimes the retainer ring pliers is not far enough, so I'll take and use some needle nose pliers and give an extra pull just to make sure I got that O-ring stretched out and that it's nice and loosened up so that when we pull it through, we're not going to have any issues at all. Keep rotating in different parts, continue to stretch it. You want to make sure that you stretch it all the way around and not just on one side. Give it a good tug, make sure it's well stretched out. Alright, so now let's go ahead and clean out these legs. Just go ahead and break the legs because you're not going to need the rubber in there anymore. You can see this one's really worn. It's a really dry. It's been sitting a long time. Now I'm taking my screwdriver and wedging it up under the original rubber band. So you kind of go at an angle outwards and then up, and you can see it just pulls that piece right out. You can see now how it looks after it's out. Alright, do the same to the other side. Again, just wedge it underneath. You want to get really far underneath. You may have to go from different angles. Sometimes you'll find that that rubber starts to solidify against the plastic leg. This happens all the time, so you want to work it from all different angles. Otherwise you're going to be stuck with pieces and chunks still in the leg. You want to try to get it out as one piece if possible. Alright, so let's take a look at the inside of these legs so you can see what we're looking at. It should be nice and clean. That's exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and wash this figure. While we're waiting for the figure to be washed, let's go ahead and work on the other screw eye. On this one, we're going to open it up the exact same way, using the standard needle nose pliers with the grip on the threads and the non-marring ones on the actual circle part, the eye of the screw eye. Open it up just enough, just so that an O-ring can fit in there. Alright, let's go ahead and test it out. You can see how those are going to work once they're installed inside the figure. Okay, my figure's all nice and cleaned. I'm ready to go. Let's make sure we pick the right leg. You can tell by the bump of the muscle on the inside of the leg. And we're going to take and just screw that screw eye right into the bottom of that leg, into that deep hole, right in that area. Just grip it and just start turning it in. Now some people like to get a small drill bit and drill a small little hole first, and that's okay. Just be really careful not to drill too far. You don't want to hurt yourself. I've seen accidents happen. I find if you warm the leg a little bit, either with a hair dryer or warm water, it just goes in really easily. Now that's not quite deep enough. I'm going to take my non-marring needle nose pliers and just screw it in a little deeper. We want it to sit in the leg deep inside that hole, so it doesn't cause any kind of interference when you go to move that leg. You want to make sure that's angled in such a way that once it's installed, that the leg rubber band will not cause the leg to twist weird or anything else. To be on the safe side, I'm going to stretch this O-ring out again. I want to make sure it's warmed up and it's ready for me to stretch it all the way across the figure's midsection. I find using a black string works great for this. I've used dental floss in the past, but you may find if you use dental floss, it might just snap and break on you. I found this great string for, it's actually the string I use to string Bo's arrow, or Bo's bow, for using a bow and arrow, that it works great for doing this. Now remember to make sure to aim for that top hole, way in the back. So get way in the back in that top hole, that's where you want to aim for. Yep, see it goes right through, right there to the other side. That's where we want the O-ring to go. We don't want it in the lower hole, because it won't work there. We want it in the upper top hole in the back. It's a little bit of a challenge to get it up in there, and that's why we use the black string to help pull it through. So let's go ahead and thread that string through. I find it works good to use some needle nose pliers to pull it through on the other side once I push that string through. This can be a little tricky sometimes. Sometimes it likes to have the string go up in the torso, so it's a little tricky to try to get it right up there the way you want. Alright, just pull them right through. Make sure you got both ends. Alright, pull it tight, hold it in place, and now we're going to hook that other hook right around that O-ring. You can see the O-ring hanging out in there. Our goal is to get that hook in there. It can be a little challenging sometimes to get that hook in there. Just keep trying. Eventually you'll get it. You may have to move the string to help you. Make sure whatever you do, you leave that string in there as long as you can. You want to make sure that you have that string to keep pulling it, to get it just at the right angle, to allow that other screw eye to fit inside that O-ring. Now I personally use the one at the serrated edge to hang on tighter to the actual threads. Just make sure that when you do that, it does not get in the actual eye itself, because if it does, it's going to just cut that O-ring and that leg is just going to pop right back off again. And the O-ring is going to be broken and your screw eyes will be ruined. Alright, looks like I have it there, and you can see how it looks once it's in there. Now you want to close this up right away. We want to use the non-marring needle nose pliers and go and close that screw eye right away. Now I've been in this spot before, I've tried to close it, and I've let go of the string accidentally, and that O-ring has shot across to the other side, and then of course you have to start all over. Alright, get that screw eye closed. It's a little hard with the non-marring tools because it doesn't grip on there to hang on to it, but again, you don't want to cause any chafing on that screw eye, otherwise later on this is going to be a sharp edge that's going to just cut through that O-ring. So you want to be careful not to cause any extra damage. Alright, let me pull this out so you can see it. And there it is, attached in there. Now I'm going to take the small screwdriver, I'm going to put it through the hole, the actual eye of the screw eye, and this is to basically, when I go to screw that leg on, I have to have something to help me wedge it into the hole of that leg. Because if you just try to screw it on there directly, it's not going to work. So you're going to need to have a spot where you can get the screwdriver into the hole. Just use the leg opening to hold it in place. See, that's how it looks. And now we're going to take the left leg and we're just going to screw it in there just like that. Now, you're going to have to angle the screwdriver into the hole at the same time. It's a little tricky at first. After you do a couple, you'll get it down pat. So just slide it to the edge. And if you're not careful, that screw eye will just pop off right at this time. So you want to angle it, give it a nice 45, and then go ahead and start screwing the left leg on. Now this is a little tricky. If you don't put enough pressure on that screwdriver, all you're going to end up doing is having that screw eye just keep pulling out of that leg, and eventually it's just going to make a giant hole that's not going to work. So you have to be really careful that you're not putting any pressure on the leg at this point until that screw eye gets in deep enough to hold it itself. Now these screw eyes are actually made to hold quite a lot of weight. That's why I make sure I choose the extra long ones, the ones that are 11/16 in length. And that helps because they're a little bit longer, so they go in a lot deeper and they hold a lot stronger. Alright, let's go ahead and pull the string out now. And you can see the screw eye is pretty deep in there, but not quite deep enough. So I'm just going to put the screwdriver in one more time and just make sure that screw eye is seated all the way down deep inside that hole of that leg. You want to be careful not to over tighten as you do this, because if you over tighten it, you're going to end up stripping out that screw eye. So be careful to get it deep but not over tightened. This can be kind of a tricky thing to do to get it just right. Alright, you also want to make sure you line it up. So as you tighten this up, make sure the leg's going to line up straight. You don't want the legs to go all crooked. And there they are. See, I'm just kind of making sure the O-ring is lined up straight. Looks pretty good in there. And let's just set them up. Ta-da! There he is. You can see how that O-ring is stretched across with the screw eyes deep inside those holes of those legs. That way there's no interference as you move them. It's a nice tight fit, and this will last for years. I've had some that I've done, man, it's been like almost 20 years. Alright, well thanks for watching.